This XM Studio statue of Cable from X-Men is really two statues in one. Not only that, but I got it for probably between a third and a fourth of the actual retail price. I can't even figure out how great of a deal that was. That's because math is hard for some people. Did you know there's only three types of people in this world? Those who can count and those who can't. Hey, thank you for tuning in for another Black Friday special. It is not Black Friday right now, but I bought this on Black Friday of 2025 and he's been sitting in a box. I finally got him out. This is the quarter scale statue of Cable from XM Studios. Now, if you're a follower of the channel, that may sound familiar because I've reviewed a quarter scale statue of Cable from XM Studios. It was the predecessor of this, the OG, the original one, which I thought was a phenomenal statue. Had more of a realistic vibe to it. And most of my X-Men collection, I have a giant wall that actually used to be behind me right here. That's where he's going. They're more of a comic vibe. So I've always wanted this statue because I thought it looked absolutely fantastic. I love the concept of it. Has a second character, as you can see. And as I said in the intro, there's so many switch outs. It's almost two statues in one. But more importantly, I got the absolute biggest screaming deal that we're going to talk about in the review today. So this is Cable. Cable is a mutant from the future, and I grew up getting to know Cable. I loved X-Men comics, and I never really had a lot of comics with him in it, but it was more the 90s cartoon that he first made his introduction. And then, of course, he has some crossovers with X-Force and Deadpool. And I plan to pair him next to another X-Force statue I still own, this Domino right here. It's a custom statue, but really excited to have this because, like I said, I just got it for a screaming deal. And let's kick off the review with concept being the most important thing. Now, depending on your display options, because as I said, it's almost two statues in one, you could have a few different concepts. We're going to talk about how it sits right here because I think this is what makes it really unique. So remember, he's from the future. Now, with that, the future is where they're trying to destroy all mutants. They're trying to get rid of them, and there's mechanical things going on, and I believe that's what the base is. You see these metallic tentacles. They're the bad guys, whether it's from the Sentinel's hands, which were really prominent in the storyline, if I recall, or some other attacking mechanism because they're seeking down, they're killing mutants, and you see debris everywhere because the future is really scarred and scorched. Now remember, Cable is a time traveler, but we're assuming that's where this takes place. The other thing about Cable, he loves his weapons, and that is very evident here. You have pistols and rifles and grenade launchers and pouches and grenades everywhere. And he's kind of wading through this minefield or scorched earth. He has this classic cloak on the back, at least in this one right here. He's a little bit older, and he's holding Hope Summers. Hope Summers was a really important mutant in the Marvel storyline. Not only was she one of the most powerful mutants, but at a time that mutants were almost going extinct in the future, she gave them hope and light because of a lot of her origins. So you see him carrying her. He raised her. He looked after her. I don't know. Again, I apologize. I should know this. I don't know if he was the biological father. I think he was. But I think it's what makes this statue incredibly unique and incredibly cool. So I love the concept and the fact that even though it's kind of a display option we're going to talk about in that category, I love the fact you can display it a different way I'm going to show you. It's a 5 out of 5 on the concept. Very, very cool. Love what they did. Design equally as impressive. As a spoiler, it's probably going to be a 5 out of 5. But let's look at the unboxing and assembly first. Some old school XM right here with the one box that it came in. I say old school because it did have the art print. It did have a little bit of an instruction manual, but they still stay true to the straps and the white foam in two different layers. Everything was wrapped in wax paper. Interesting fact, there was a hidden portrait we'll talk about in a moment. So as you saw me build it a few different ways, let's talk about this. So here's essentially the two different side-by-sides you can kind of have with the character. One, he has the cloak and is carrying Hope, and because of that, the guns and the ammo and a few different things switch around, which is what we're going to talk about, as well as the portraits, which are interchangeable. So let's talk about the different portraits. First, you have an older portrait. Now, this to me works better when you display it with Hope, although you can certainly use this other portrait and display it however you want. Post-filming edit is I found a third portrait that was in a weird spot in the packaging. It's not on the assembly or anything. It's this one right here, which also works with Hope in my opinion. Speaking of Hope, he can either be carrying this big-ass gun with his robotic arm. It's one of his the trademark parts about him. Or he can be carrying Hope. Now you have the option to display him with his cloak right here. And again, this is kind of a classic aspect of Cable. Is he's a time traveler. He's going through time. It has this big-ass gun on the back. Now an important part is when you display the cloak, you have this little strap right here that actually goes up to the gun holster. And this is important because, as you see right here, if you take the cloak off, you actually have to replace that strap with an extra grenade. I believe that's what these are. And also, when you replace the cloak right here, you have this metallic part that you insert to cover up that keyhole, which I think was genius. Now, one of the things, when you display the cloak, he usually has two shoulder braces with arm grenades. These right here, those you don't need to display if he has the cloak on. So a lot of moving pieces. So you can either have it as young Cable fighting against whoever, or you can have him as more of a father figure, also going through the trenches with his daughter right there. What I love about this too, so it's quarter scale, 3 times smaller than a real life version, very small footprint. You only have about 14 inches wide. The base goes about 10 inches deep. The gun makes it jut out a little bit more. And when he's holding Hope, it's a little bit taller because of the gun on the back, but it's still under 22 inches. So really displayable in almost any display cabinet, which is nice for a change. I'm really digging this. I think I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 on design. I love the different options. I love the displayability. Well done. Paint and sculpt, this really reminds me of old school XM, where they did a really nice job on a lot of it. There's the portraits I'm not a huge fan of as a spoiler, but let's look at the rest. So I have a few of the switch out pieces I want to look first when it comes to paint and sculpt, just because they're easier to see. But this is what I love about XM. Some of the fantastic detail, like look at the glove, look at the scoring on it. It has some pretty bright lights. And like I said, very comic feel vibe with the entire statue that includes the weapons. But like even these grenades right here, so much detail, not only in the the rib texture that you have, but then the damage on the shoulder pads, and you're going to see that all over Cable as well. But let's look at his portraits. These are, in my opinion, the weakest part of the statue, and I think it's the lips. Not a fan of the color of the lips. I think that's a little bit of a miss. And then even the scarring around his eye isn't the best. And then these are obviously decals. I'm having trouble getting it to focus. Yeah, and I think the skin is just a little bit too light. I would have liked to see some dirt, honestly, not only on him, but even maybe a little bit on Hope, even though I understand that, there's supposed to be an element of innocence there. And her portrait's not the best either. I do love the hair that they did. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Not only the coloring, but the waviness, and then her pigtails right there. And his costume is fantastic. Really good job. He was always a bulky character, so the anatomy is great. And then even you see his rippling biceps and triceps. And then I like the hues and the veins, the vein work they did. And I'm a huge fan of his cloak. Not only the flow of it, but the torn, tattered texture. And then XM, always great with like pouches and accessories. So much detail went into this statue. It is really impressive. Look at that gun right there in the holster. The straps and clasps on his boot. I mean, this doesn't look like it's painted rock. Base is not as good, but it's still done well. This is just fantastic in my opinion. I love the costume. I love the musculature. I love the accessories. So it almost has like an Egyptian theme. Like that almost looks like hieroglyphics down there. Maybe it is. It's something I'm unaware of in the storyline. But I love how mangled and torn the machine is, whatever that machine that we talked about. Again, it'd be better if I had context around the character. It's just done really well. Like I said, I think the portraits are the weakest part. And unfortunately, while the portraits are small, they're really important. But not too shabby, especially when we talk about the value of this piece. I think, as I said, I think the portraits are average. But while they're an important part of the statue, there's so much other great stuff going on. I think both the paint and sculpt have the same score in my opinion, which isn't always the case. I think they're both a very solid 4 out of 5. If I like those portraits a little bit better, I could elevate everything to a 5 out of 5, but it's subjective anyway. Value. Now, typically, when we talk about value, I give it a ranking. I'm not going to do that because this is an older piece and I got it on that steal of a deal. So this retailed right around $1,400 US plus shipping, which is a lot. And I think that's one of the reasons it never sold out, because shipping is usually another $200 or so. I got this all in for $600, which is just absolutely incredible. It might have been $550. It was under $600. It was part of a Black Friday sale. You've probably been seeing a few of these on my channel. Recently, it was this Namer statue right here. And as a spoiler, there's more coming. So make sure you not only like this video, but you've hit the sub button and hit the bell notification. So fantastic value at the $600. Definitely at the the 1,700 Singapore dollars it retailed at, which is about $1,400 US. That was a ripoff in my opinion. But what's interesting is I remember the original Cable statue. First of all, it was the only Cable statue out for a long time. That one went well over retail in the aftermarket. It went for, I think, about 50% higher. I think it retailed for around $1,000 and people were selling it for $1,500 plus. That was back when statue collecting was awesome. It still is. It's just money sucker now. Unless you get a screaming deal like this. Now, is this a 5 out of 5 statue? It doesn't disappoint at all. I really, really like it. It's not a 5 out of 5. Is it better than the original Cable? I think it's about similar, other than the fact it has hope. I think that adds a big aspect to it. And I know Sideshow made a pretty cool one as well that I never saw. I saw in person at a con. It was pretty good. So there's some good options for this character that's not as popular in statue form. Maybe why you can get it so cheap. But I think it's a 4 out of 5 statue. It's above expectations and very happy to have it, especially at that price. And it goes perfect with my X-Men collection. If you want to see what he looks like in there, check out social media, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. The link for that is in the description below. Now, here's my challenge to you guys. We are super close to a giant giveaway where we're going to give away 3 statues. And not this one, though. And to get in there, you need to leave a comment in the videos. And if you could time travel, where would you go and why? And don't be weird. Well, you can be weird, just don't be weird in the comment. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Yes, we're still giving away $1,000 statues at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. You have to make sure you're subbed to the channel, you like the video, and then leave a comment. We're going to pick a random comment on a random video and give away those statues. In the meantime, check out some of these other videos and my social media. Talk to you soon. Take care.